What makes an action good? Is it the action itself or the result that follows? This question is, honestly, one of the oldest mysteries in human thought, a puzzle that has fascinated philosophers for centuries. We all face choices every single day, from those small acts of kindness to decisions that could, change lives. Deep within our minds, we have a compass that guides us. But what magnetic north is that compass actually following? Is it an unshakable set of rules about what is right and wrong? Or is it a calculation of what will bring about the greatest good for the greatest number of people? This fundamental disagreement is, in a way, the ultimate ethical showdown. Imagine you are standing at a crossroads. One path is paved with solid stone, representing unchanging duties and principles. The signpost calls it Deontology. This path tells you that certain actions are inherently right or wrong, regardless of what happens afterward. The other path is a winding trail through a forest, where the destination is all that matters. This one is called Consequentialism. It argues that the morality of your choice depends entirely on the outcome it produces. These two powerful ideas offer completely different maps for navigating the complex landscape of human morality, and understanding them is absolutely key to understanding ourselves. The debate isn't just for dusty books in a library, it's happening all around us, in our hospitals, our courtrooms, and even in the very code that runs our modern world. When a doctor decides on a risky surgery, or a self-driving car must make a split-second choice, these ancient theories come to life. They force us to confront the deepest questions about what it means to be good. Are we servants of a moral law that exists outside of us? Or are we the architects of goodness, responsible for creating the best possible future through our actions? The journey to find an answer begins by exploring each path on its own. Throughout this exploration, we will journey into the heart of these two great ethical systems. We will look at their strengths and their weaknesses, their certainties and their paradoxes. We will see how they guide us when faced with difficult, real-world dilemmas that have no easy answers. The universe is a vast and complicated place, and so is the universe of human choice. By examining these competing ideas, we move one step closer to understanding the very nature of right and wrong. And perhaps we get a clearer picture of the moral forces that shape our existence and our shared destiny. Deontology is a philosophy built on a simple yet powerful idea: duty. The word itself comes from the Greek deon, meaning duty or obligation. For a deontologist, morality is not about trying to guess the future or predict consequences. Instead, it's about following a set of universal moral rules or duties. These rules are seen as absolute. An action is either right or it is wrong, period. Think of it like the fundamental laws of physics. They apply everywhere, to everyone, at all times. A deontologist believes that our moral compass should be fixed, pointing firmly toward these duties regardless of the situation we find ourselves in. The most famous champion of this viewpoint was the philosopher Immanuel Kant. He argued that to be truly moral, an action must be done from a sense of duty alone, not because it makes you feel good or leads to a nice result. He proposed what he called the categorical imperative. One version of this idea states that you should only act in a way that you would want to become a universal law. For example, you should not lie, because if everyone lied all the time, the very concept of truth would collapse, and society could not function. The rule "do not lie" is therefore a universal duty. The great strength of deontology is its clarity and its profound respect for human dignity. It provides a stable and predictable moral framework. You don't have to be a genius to figure out what to do. You just have to follow the rules. It also insists that every individual has intrinsic value and should never be used merely as a means to an end. This means you cannot sacrifice one person, even to save 5 others, because doing so would violate the rule against killing and treat that one person as a tool. This focus on rights and duties forms the backbone of many legal systems around the world. However, this rigid approach also creates problems. What happens when 2 universal duties conflict? Imagine you are hiding an innocent family from a murderer who knocks on your door and asks if they are inside. Your duty not to lie clashes directly with your duty to protect innocent life. Deontology struggles to provide a clear answer here. Critics argue that it can be inflexible and blind to the real-world suffering that a strict adherence to rules might cause. By focusing so intently on the action itself, it sometimes ignores the very real and very human consequences of our choices. Now let us walk the other path, the path of consequentialism. This school of thought takes a completely different approach to the mystery of morality. For a consequentialist, the moral worth of an action is found not in the action itself, but in its results. A good action is one that produces a good outcome. The most famous form of this theory is utilitarianism, which argues that the best action is the one that creates the greatest amount of happiness or well-being for the greatest number of people. It's a kind of moral mathematics. You weigh the potential pleasure against the potential pain and choose the option that maximizes the good. Imagine a doctor with 5 patients who each need a different organ to survive. A healthy person walks into the clinic for a routine checkup. A pure consequentialist might argue that sacrificing the one healthy person to save the 5 sick patients is the most ethical choice. The outcome, 5 lives saved versus 1 life lost, produces the greatest overall good. This perspective is practical and grounded in the real world. It asks us to look forward and consider the tangible impact of our decisions on the lives of others, encouraging us to act in ways that actively improve the world and reduce suffering. The appeal of consequentialism is its flexibility and its focus on results. It seems to make common sense that we should try to make the world a better place. In fields like public policy or medicine, this thinking is everywhere. Governments fund programs based on the positive outcomes they are expected to produce for society. Doctors recommend treatments by weighing the benefits against the risks. Consequentialism gives us a clear goal: maximize well-being. It asks us to be responsible for the consequences of what we do, pushing us to think beyond simple rules and consider the complex web of effects our actions can have. But this path has its own dangers. The most significant criticism is that it can justify terrible actions in the name of the greater good. The thought experiment of sacrificing one healthy person for 5 organs feels deeply wrong to many of us, even if the math adds up. This is because consequentialism can trample on individual rights and justice. It can lead to a tyranny of the majority where the happiness of the many is used to excuse the suffering of the few. Furthermore, how can we ever be sure of the consequences of our actions? The future is uncertain, and a choice with good intentions might lead to a disastrous, unforeseen outcome. We have journeyed down 2 very different roads. Deontology gives us a moral code that is stable, clear, and respects the individual. But it can be rigid and blind to consequences. Consequentialism gives us a moral goal that is flexible, practical, and aimed at creating happiness. But it can justify sacrificing the few for the many and ignores the idea of inherent rights. So where does that leave us in our quest for what is right? Are we forced to choose one path and abandon the other? Or is there a way to bring these powerful ideas together, to find a balance in this ultimate ethical showdown? In the complex world of modern dilemmas, neither theory alone seems sufficient. Think of a self-driving car. In a no-win accident scenario, should it follow a deontological rule, like never swerve to hit a pedestrian, even if that means harming its passenger? Or should it make a consequentialist calculation, choosing the action that saves the most lives, even if it means actively deciding to sacrifice someone? Technologists and ethicists are programming these decisions right now, often trying to find a hybrid approach, a system that follows general rules but can override them in extreme circumstances to prevent a catastrophe. Perhaps the true nature of morality is not found exclusively in one camp or the other. Many modern philosophers argue for a kind of moral pluralism, a belief that we need both a compass and a map. We might use deontology to set the fundamental boundaries, the absolute rights and duties that we must not cross, like the prohibitions against torture or slavery. These form the bedrock of a just society. But within those boundaries, we can use consequentialist thinking to guide our choices toward the best possible outcomes, promoting policies and actions that increase well-being and reduce suffering for everyone. In the end, the universe does not provide us with a simple instruction manual for morality. The showdown between deontology and consequentialism reveals a deep and perhaps permanent tension in how we think about ethics. One is not necessarily more ethical than the other. They are different tools for different situations. Deontology protects the sacred value of the person, while consequentialism pushes us to be responsible for the world we create. A truly wise and ethical person may be someone who learns to walk both paths, who understands that duty without compassion is blind, and that a focus on results without a respect for rights can be dangerous.